What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Total Takedown. We're talking UFC Vegas 72. We're going overs and unders. How long will these fights last, as opposed to just picking a money line to give you an extra angle to put some cash in your pockets. Happy draft day to all of those who partake. Let's go Vikings. I can't wait to see who we draft this week. If you couldn't tell, I'm a bit of a fan. All right, we are breaking down this fight card coming up on Saturday. This is Pub Sports Radio. The lines are brought to you by Superbook Sports, as always. Hit the like button for me. Let's get into it. First fight of the night, you've got Jamey-Lyn Horth taking on Hailey Cowan and a women's MMA total of 2.5. The over is minus 190. The under is plus 170. And Jamey-Lyn Horth is 5-0, I believe, with a 100% finish rate, unless I'm mistaken. I need to kind of double check that because I might be talking out my ass on this one. But this girl has some serious finishing instincts on her. Now, Hailey Cowan is almost the exact opposite. She does have some finishes, but she's got some decision wins on her as well. She's also been knocked out twice. So there's definitely some violence upside here in this spot. I think Hailey Cowan's going to be the much larger woman here in this spot, physically more imposing, but Jamey-Lyn Horth seems like she's maybe the more well-rounded fighter, and we've seen the mistakes that Hailey Cowan can make in the cage already on full display. So I wouldn't mind a shot at the violence here. I'm not laying minus 190 on this particular women's fight to go over. I would definitely be stabbing at that under 2.5 if I was going to bet anything on this one. Irina Alexieva taking on Stephanie Egger. Another 2.5 for this one. This one's a little tighter, though. The over 2.5, minus 135. The under 2.5, plus 115. And I would be looking violence yet again. Personally, I think Stephanie Egger is going to do what Stephanie Egger does. I think Irina Alexieva is basically a worse version of Stephanie Egger. I can see her ending up on her back, and if this fight hits the ground, somebody's getting armbarred. I don't care who, I don't know who. Probably Egger is the one doing the arm barring, but I think under 2.5 at plus money actually makes some sense on that fight as well. Next up, Charles Johnson taking on Cody Durden. We have another 2.5. The over is minus 190. The under is plus 170. And this one's tough. That 2.5 is like right on the line of where I don't want to bet this fight, because we have seen Charles Johnson go a good hard 15 minutes before. We've seen Cody Durden do the exact same. However, we've seen both these guys finish as well. Round one finishes in the UFC by both guys. There's bad blood. They've been trash talking on Twitter for weeks. This is going to be a very intense fight, and it's going to come down to who wants it more. I think neither guy is going to give in lightly. So if there is a finish, I actually kind of expect it to be like late in the fight in the third round, when one person gets the edge and the other's cardio maybe starts to give out on them. So I would be looking over tentatively, but I'm not sure it makes it the full 15 minutes. This is a fight that I'm not going to bet from a totals perspective. I'll lean over, minus 190, not a chance. Jake Collier taking on Martin Buday in the next fight, another 2.5. Over is minus 130, under is plus 110. We're talking your heavyweights here. If you give me a 1.5, I'm going over all day, any day. What we've seen from Jake Collier is massive amounts of volume. He's able to just put it on his opponents that are bigger and slower and plodding. Buday is exactly that guy. He likes to pin you up against the fence, take some deep breaths, maybe knee you a little bit, but he wants to slow the pace of the fight down. I do think both men are fully capable of getting finished in this spot. We've seen Collier's got some submissions under his sleeve. He hits pretty hard. That volume can get to you. And Buday's got that heavyweight power. He can clip you with one of those big, powerful knees and hurt people that way. But at the same time, I could also see this being a little bit of a gas baggy, sloppy over. I wouldn't be surprised if it makes it the full 15. But again, it's just such a low heavyweight scrap. I really don't want anything to do with this low-level fight. Total is not getting my money here. Trey Waters making his UFC debut on short notice against Josh Quinlan. A 1.5 for this one. The over 1.5 is plus 105. The under 1.5 minus 125. And I would lean with, I don't know. I was about to say I would lean with violence, but I'm in this 2.5 round mode. Start thinking about it here at 1.5, and I've got some questions. Trey Waters, he's like discount Bobby Green. He plays with his hands low. He wants to use his head movement. He wants to roll and avoid your shots. And then the only way he wins by knockout is when he binks you with just the absolute perfect shot right behind the ear. If he doesn't hit that button, though, he's so low volume he doesn't really finish people. Quinlan is like the opposite of that. He comes out swinging like a madman. He throws hammers, and he's just looking to clip you and hurt you and put you down. So there's definitely finishing opportunity here, whether it's a counter from Trey Waters or Josh Quinlan banking him on the button. The other thing is that Josh Quinlan is maybe an underrated grappler, and we've seen Trey Waters struggle with wrestling. If Quinlan goes to the grappling, this fight could get interesting, and it could drag out a little bit later. We could see this one get over that 1.5 round hump. So I'll actually go ahead and throw that out there. I'll say over 1.5 at plus 105. Waldo Cortes-Acosta takes on Marcos Rogério de Lima next up. Another 1.5 here for the big boys. The over 1.5 is minus 145. The under 1.5 plus 125. And for me, Waldo Cortes-Acosta is a over 1.5 round machine. The guy is tough, he is durable, he's gritty, he's a fighter's fighter. He wants to just get in there and throw hands. And because of that, it seems like every fight he's been in so far has been one that's gotten extended. Marcos Rogério de Lima, he's getting a little older, but he's kind of a cannon. He comes out with those big heavy leg kicks. He's a BJJ black belt. He's got underrated wrestling, and he really is looking to take your head off with every single punch. So if this fight ends early, I'm thinking it's going to be on the Marcos Rogério de Lima side. But if Waldo can survive that first round and extend this fight a little bit, we have seen de Lima go 15 minutes. It's happened before, so it's not like he's completely dead, done, no options if it goes beyond the first round. I think over 1.5. I think this is your heavyweight spot where one guy survives and the other guy slows down because of it, and we end up squeezing into the second or the third round here. Next up, we got Fernando Padilla making his UFC debut against Julian Juicy J Erosa, a 2.5 total. Over 2.5, plus 135. Under 2.5, minus 155. And I do think this is a violent spot right here. So two things. Either Fernando Padilla is UFC caliber and he's going to be part of the Mexico takeover that we're seeing happen in the UFC, and he binks Julian Erosa on the chin like we've seen time and time again, or he's not going to be up to snuff yet, and jumping in against somebody like Erosa is just going to be too much to ask, and he might end up getting his ass beat. So I think either way we end up with an under in this spot because Erosa is a glass cannon. This guy is all offense all day. Offense is the best defense, but when the tables get turned on him, he doesn't have the best durability. He doesn't have the greatest chin. So whether the finish is coming from Erosa or he's slipped up and getting caught, either way, I think we're going under. Next up, we got Cody Brundage taking on Rodolfo Vieira, and this is another 1.5 spot pick'em price tag. Minus 110s over and under here on the 1.5. And this one's tough for me. I would be looking at, I wouldn't mind parlaying the fight doesn't go the distance or something like that, but this 1.5 is concerning. So, Rodolfo Vieira, we know he's the BJJ black belt hunter. This man will snap anybody's arm he wants to. We've seen him go into round 3. We've seen him go a full 15 minutes. So, he is also a guy that can finish and drag late if he wants to. Cody Brundage, though, this guy's a finishing machine. When he comes in here, we've seen him on his heels, nearly getting taken out in the first round, and then he flips the tables and he taps his opponent or something like that. He's got big finishing upside. If he slows the pace down a little bit, if he shows some maturity, if he's got new wrinkles to his game, there's definitely an opportunity for him to extend this fight and do some things that we haven't seen before. The problem for me is that his base is wrestling, and Rodolfo Vieira, we know this guy wants to take you to the ground and work the ground game. So unless we get that weird, two strong wrestlers deciding to kickbox instead situation, I kind of think we're going to see another violent finish here. I have a hard time seeing this fight get out of round 1. I do think it doesn't go the distance, so if you want to be a little bit safer and play that and parlay it up with something else, I think that's totally fine. I will say under 1.5 at minus 110. Michał Lord Oleksiejczuk takes on Caio Borralho in your co-main event. Total is 2.5. The over 2.5 is plus 145. The under 2.5 minus 165. And again, I like this under. I think Michał Oleksiejczuk, this guy is built on speed and crashing the pocket and breaking his opponent's jaw in the first 5 minutes of a fight. He is capable of being extended. He is capable of going 15 minutes. But not against a guy like Caio. Now, Caio is very risk adverse, right? He's all in, he's all out. He's either going to be striking at karate-style range where it's kicking and Michał is going to have a hard time touching him, or he's going to be in on a body lock dragging this guy to the mat. We've seen that be the problem for Oleksiejczuk. Borralho, I think, can tap Michał Oleksiejczuk if this thing hits the floor. So it's either going to be a knockout on the feet. Michał can definitely catch this guy early. We've seen him do it before. He could do it again. Caio Borralho could get this guy out of there with a submission landing on the ground. Under 2.5 makes a ton of sense here to me. Ricky Simón and Song Yadong in your main event slot. 4.5 is the total. Over 4.5 is plus 110. Under 4.5 is minus 130. I definitely think violence in this spot. My stance on this fight is very one-sided. I think Song Yadong is the side. I think Song Yadong's going to knock Ricky Simón out. We have seen that durability be cracked from Ricky Simón before. Song Yadong is probably the fastest, most athletic fighter he's faced. Probably the hardest hitter he's faced in the UFC. And he also got knocked out by his coach, Uriah Faber. I think all those things line up for Song Yadong to be very, very live here to get a finish, especially with 4.5 rounds to work with. Even if Ricky Simón comes out here and dominates the first 12 to 16 minutes of this fight with pure grappling, that may slow his pace down. That, we're not sure. It's been a long time since we've seen Ricky Simón in the 4th and 5th rounds. He's done it once before. I had to get corrected. My guy Couch Warrior, he did have a fight before he made it to the UFC that did go the full 25 minutes. So he has been there before. We've seen it, but we haven't seen it at the UFC level. And Song Yadong actually has really strong hips. He's got a really good get-up game. He's not a guy who's going to gas out and slow down that way. We saw it in his last fight where it was 2-2 going into the 5th round against someone high-level like Corey Sandhagen. I think he'll be able to do what he needs to do to make Ricky Simón work. And then it's just a matter of him putting up enough volume or even catching him and hitting the button. Ricky Simón obviously has the submission upside. He's got ground and pound. Like, there are ways Ricky Simón can finish this fight as well. So I like the under 4.5, minus 130. That's the total takedown. Good luck on all your NFL drafting tonight, everybody. And I will see you tomorrow after the weigh-ins for the undefeated post-weigh-in show. Good luck on all your degenerate action. Let's roll.